Dr. Amelia Croft scoffed at superstition. A renowned psychologist, she prided herself on logic and reason. So when she inherited the antique mirror, its legend meant nothing. A piece of her soul trapped within the glass? Absurd. It was just an ornate, albeit beautiful relic of the past. The mirror, framed in silver etched with strange symbols, now stood in her study. It was imposing, its surface dark with age. Amelia had considered moving it, yet something kept her from doing so. Perhaps it was the challenge it represented, a physical manifestation of the irrational fears she dedicated her life to dismantling. She had read the accompanying documents, yellowed with time. They spoke of vanity and obsession, of a soul claimed by the mirror's depths. Amelia dismissed it as folklore, a cautionary tale spun to frighten the superstitious. Still, the mirror held a strange allure, a silent invitation she found hard to resist. One evening, drawn by an unknown force, Amelia found herself standing before the mirror. Its surface seemed to shimmer, the silver frame cold beneath her touch. A wave of unease washed over her, a prickling sensation at the back of her neck. She shook it off, attributing it to her own imagination, to the power of suggestion. The reflection staring back at her was, of course, her own. Amelia saw her tired eyes, the faint lines etched by years of study and late nights. Yet there was something different, something off. It was subtle, a fleeting impression that vanished as quickly as it appeared. She leaned closer, peering into the mirror's depths. The silver frame seemed to writhe at the edges of her vision, the ornate carvings twisting into grotesque shapes, her breath caught in her throat. The feeling of unease intensified, a cold dread seeping into her bones. Amelia straightened up, trying to rationalize her fear. It was just an old mirror, nothing more. But the doubt lingered, a seed of unease planted in the fertile ground of her unease. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something was watching her, lurking just beneath the surface of the reflection. Taking a deep breath, Amelia turned away from the mirror. She needed to clear her head, to ground herself in the familiar. The documents, she decided, she would go over them again, this time focusing on the historical context, on finding a logical explanation for the mirror's unsettling aura. Later that night, unable to sleep, Amelia found herself drawn back to the study. The mirror, bathed in the pale moonlight filtering through the window, seemed to pulsate with an unnatural light. Her reflection, no longer her own, beckoned her closer. The face staring back was hers, yet subtly distorted. The lines around the eyes were deeper, etched with a strange malice. The lips, once pursed in thought, were now curled into a chilling, knowing smile. Amelia recoiled, her heart pounding in her chest. This was not a trick of the light, nor a figment of her imagination. The reflection had taken on a life of its own, a malevolent entity lurking beneath the surface. Fear, primal and consuming, gripped her. She stumbled back, her hand instinctively reaching for the desk behind her. "This is impossible," she whispered, her voice trembling. But even as she uttered the words, she knew the truth. The mirror was not merely reflecting her image, it was reflecting something far more sinister, something that mirrored her deepest fears and darkest desires. Amelia tried to tear her gaze away, but the reflection held her captive. It began to mimic her movements, its smile widening into a grotesque parody of her own. The eyes, once reflecting her own fatigue, now gleamed with an unholy light. "Who are you?" she choked out, her voice barely a whisper. The reflection's lips moved, forming words she could not hear, but the message was clear, etched in the cruel curve of its smile and the chilling emptiness of its eyes. It was a reflection, yes, but not of her physical form. It was a reflection of her soul, twisted and corrupted by the ancient evil dwelling within the mirror. Panic seized her. She was a prisoner in her own home, trapped by her own reflection. The study, once a sanctuary of knowledge and reason, now felt like a prison, the air thick with a palpable sense of dread. She had to escape, to break free from the mirror's hold. But how? The rational part of her mind The part that clung to logic and reason was fading, replaced by a growing terror she couldn't control.